What is up, everyone? Darian Thomas here with The Third Eye, an insight into higher living. I have in my hands here a book that was written by the man which you all are about to be watching. It is an interview that I did with an incredible man. His name is Michael LeBlanc. This book is called Manifest a Better Life with God. Use your inherent God nature, which includes law of attraction. So, Michael and I dive together today into some extremely powerful topics, which he breaks down in a really simple way to help us all to understand in a better way how to get the things that we want and avoid getting a lot of the things that we don't want. He goes into some incredible stories of his own, some wonderful testimonials of people who read his book and touched their hearts and changed their lives. And he tells an incredible story of how he surgically removed a growth off the top of his head with the power of his mind and his beliefs and his heart. So, I'll leave you with that cliffhanger of how he does it. Stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe. Or should I say, remember to subscribe. And here we go. Well, hello everyone, all you third-eyers out there. I am Darian. You may know me. I'm the creator of this channel. This is going to be my first interview today. I am here with Michael LeBlanc. I just met him yesterday for the first time. And we sparked some very interesting conversations. Pretty right off the bat. Some law of attraction and why are things working out for us sometimes and not others?
That was the inspiration for the book.
Right. So yeah, I'm excited to get into this, to ask some of these, some things that I'm kind of interested about, picking your brain on. So
Sure.
I guess. So you're saying that you were in a mode where you were able to make things happen in your life that you wanted. You know, maybe you wanted this type of car, this type of relationship, and you were successfully doing some of those things. And other times it was probably very fiery, like some of my experiences as far as like crash and burn.
Right.
Unsuccessful. So,
yeah, it was one of those of, so probably since the late 80s, I've been studying metaphysics, and spirituality has always been a passion, and there are a lot of different people I've studied over the years. And I just had enough experiences of really, like, that whole idea of shifting your consciousness, shifts your energy, shifts your vibration,
right.
Which then, through law of attraction aligns you with different aspects, right? Mm-hmm. Different conditions, if you will. And I'd had too many experiences to know, like, well, okay, there is really something to it. It does work.
The kind of magical type of experiences, right?
Yeah, but I had a lot of times it's like, well, to my knowledge, I'm doing the same thing, but why the hell doesn't it work now? Mm-hmm. So chapter 1 of, so the book is Manifest a Better Life with God, but the subtitle is Use Your Inherent God Nature, which includes law of attraction.
I love your subtitle.
Well, it was tricky because I use the word God in the title because God doesn't mean like some distant being in the sky, judgmental kind of thing. Yeah. I grew up with that.
Me too.
Right, but it's really evolved into God as consciousness, intelligence, right? For me.
Everything.
Yeah. And so I kept the word God, knowing some people might immediately think it's a religious book, and it's not.
Yeah.
So I wanted to weave law of attraction into the subtitle.
Yep.
So for metaphysics kind of folks, it would kind of catch their eye.
It caught me. Right? That really helped me bridge that connection, because I did the first thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times I've called it the universe and
Yeah.
things like that, because I was raised up in that Christian background, and so
Right.
the way that you tied that together helped bridge it for me, helped me to see kind of what realm you're in.
Yeah. And then, like I was saying, so chapter 1 became why the heck isn't it working? Because, and even to this day, it's not like my goal was to be more masterful, right? It's like I do feel like we are divine beings. We truly are what I call God consciousness in physical form.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore we really do have an ability to participate in a deliberate way, to have conditions be more like what we desire.
Yeah.
So my goal has been, there's something that drives me that wants to be more masterful at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say that I'm there, but I definitely have figured out enough that it works more consistently.
Yeah.
And then, so the dialogue became, the premise was, all right, if I had trouble with my car, let's find the best mechanic and get him to fix my car.
Yeah.
If I'm really not getting it, why this works and this doesn't work, when I do apply all the
seems
spiritual
like the
principles
same.
that I've learned,
Yeah.
then let's go to the source, right? Let's go to God, go to, consciousness, whatever term works is fine.
Yeah.
I was like, so let's go there. So in the book, you really enter into prayer time with God and I.
Yeah.
And this dialogue became.
Which I love.
Which, when I was writing, the book originally was just going to be more like, hey, here's some tips on why law of attraction might not be working and what to do about it.
Oh, cool.
And when I hired a writing coach, because I'd never written a book before. I was like, I don't even know where to begin. And except I had the idea, right? So I hired a writing coach, Joe Vitale. He's
oh yeah.
yeah. So
I read about half of his book, the Bono book.
Oh yeah. Zero Limits or something
Zero
like
Limits.
that.
Yep. Yeah.
And so he had, because he's written like 50 books, and so he had videos on teaching you how to write, and then I also had a coach that came with it. And Adam was my coach, so I had a weekly or two call with him.
Nice.
But the process was, I would go into meditation. I do centering prayer, which is a practice I talk about in my book. And then I would just try to let it flow.
Could you tell me what centering prayer is?
Sure. So centering prayer, it really came out of the monasteries. But it's what I would call, it's more of a meditative prayer practice.
Uh-huh.
So it's rather simple. So you think of what they call a sacred word, and the word is just to represent what your intention is, and your intention is you set a timer. They recommend 20 minutes.
Okay.
So let's say you set a 20-minute timer. I use an app called Insight Timer.
Okay.
Which kind of tracks things and stuff, and it's kind of cool.
Okay.
And there's meditations on it and all this kind of stuff as well.
Okay.
But you think of a sacred word, which like a 1-syllable, 2-syllable word, and it's just Yeah, I actually use Hi God. It's kind of like, you drift. You can drift off, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh hey, I'm supposed to be here with you, right? And I'm kind of, oh hey, So I was like, oh, I'll just do Hi God, because it kind of like reminds me, oh yeah, I was supposed to be with you, and I've gone off. So you think of a word, and really the idea is, so go into silence, close your eyes, be comfortable. You will drift off into thought, or sometimes because you're starting to get still, emotions will come up that haven't had the chance or you aren't even aware of.
Yeah.
But any of that is really just, as that happens, just reintroduce your sacred word gently and bring yourself back to just being with. Really, so it's really about just being with the divine, being with Source. Again, whatever that means to you. And then but staying in that space. And then again, as your mind wanders, you just reintroduce the word and come back. Father Thomas Keating was real big on teaching it more to the masses, and contemplativeoutreach.org is kind of his thing. Okay. He passed away about a year or two ago. But it's really about realigning with your true self. and kind of dismantling what he would call your false self.
Like disconnecting with all that randomness that you've picked up or
Yeah, because we're very
harboring.
wired to believe more in the outer conditions of life than in here.
And I'd like to add to that, we're very trained to be very focused on the outer realm and very, for survivalistic reasons and just, culturally we've been, almost entirely or very, very mainly focused on the physical stuff, especially recently, science. And
Yeah. No, I think, we're more wired to believe that we are more physical than non-physical.
Exactly.
And that it's not both going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're really more non-physical beings than we are physical beings. Like this, like Abraham and we were talking a little bit about Esther Hicks and the teachings of Abraham. It talks about the your higher self or your broader perspective, right?
Broader perspective.
Is much more non-physical.
Yeah. Having
a physical experience on purpose, right?
I gotta chime this part in there because it's so good. There's this guy, and you might be able to say, I'm trying to remember the guy's name, but I haven't really studied him. I just saw him kind of say this little video. But he's working with Mind Valley right now. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Vision?
It's not Vision.
Or one of the teachers.
It's one of the teachers. But what he says in his little clip is that most people think that the soul is in the body, but really the body is in the soul.
Yeah.
Our body, that our spirit is in the body, but it's the opposite. The body is inside the spirit.
Yeah.
Which is like a kind of paradigm shift right along the same lines of what you're talking about. Like everything is focused on the physical, whereas really it's kind of the opposite. We kind of need to turn that paradigm way of looking at life around the other way.
Yeah, so like for me, I know, I'm here to engage in my life and have life. And so even with law of attraction, there's still action to take in life, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean sit home.
Yeah, just home, and then everything's going to come over.
I mean, I have had some stuff just kind of show up and I don't have to do anything. But we are really here to participate.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a kind of a balance. But where I feel like a lot of my own personal practice is around really spending more time to stay in touch with my true self, that spiritual self, while I'm here, right? And what I'm finding is it just makes things flow easier, like just running into you.
Right.
There was not a whole lot of effort that went into that except show up for breakfast. And I was sharing with you, I just got an email from a woman who read my book recently.
Oh, yeah.
And her email was just like it.
Would you like to read it real quick?
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. You're showing me when we were setting up at our previous location that we were going to try and film at. But yeah, it's really, really beautiful. She emailed him yesterday. You have it ready?
Yeah. So she says, your book is fantastic. She goes, thank you because I remembered. All my body suddenly remembered. My breathing suddenly got so deep, I could not stop taking one phenomenal deep breath. The deepest breathtaking I took in years. The goosebumps associated with that sudden recognition of what I had forgotten did bring tears, a surprising awakening. All afternoon yesterday has been an accumulation of strange events. And I'm not kidding. A shift is going on. I still can't define what happened yesterday, and I won't try. It just is. Thank you very, very sincerely.
There's so many. It's funny. It's almost I almost feel as if it was like me writing that email to you. Like so many different of her experiences and the way that she is capturing them in her words, at the same time not capturing them. She left it all so vague.
Yeah.
To where she didn't really tell you what was happening, but I could like feel everything that she was saying through my body because I actually had a very similar experience. The remembering, it was like you were, evoking a subconscious part of myself, and it was like oh yeah, that's what I was feeling that day or that moment,
Right.
you know, and
Right.
you had verbalized it in a way that was easy for me to understand.
Yeah, again, it kind of came, but it was definitely written as a story. So you kind of enter into a story and a conversation with God and I just find that's easier to read.
It is. Yeah.
And I didn't want it to feel technical.
Uh-huh.
So like, because there's a lot of neuroscience. We talked about Joe Dispenza, because he's a good blend of spirit and science.
Yes.
But I really wanted it to just be a story that could move you.
Right.
And part of I kind of opened with this prayer before you get into chapter 1.
Oh, yeah.
And part of it was, I know a lot of people have grown up with kind of this distant kind of idea of God and this out there and I'm here. And, and maybe you'll help and maybe you won't, depending on your mood. And I remember clearly one time I prayed, I was like, you're fired. I was like, you suck. You're no use to me. It was just like, I was like, I can't, I need more.
Yeah.
I really, is like, this won't do. And I remember that conversation and then it was like, yep. And that broader God, that deeper God consciousness, it's like, sure, I'll be more than happy to let you know there's more than this idea you were raised with.
Mm-hmm.
And then that journey has kind of continued. But the book was, a part of the book and writing it was really, if there was a way this could help people heal from that and not have to just ditch their spirituality because they had a bad experience growing up with the concept of God, then I wanted the book to kind of help with that. The other part was, the main message around the book is everything is consciousness. It's divine consciousness. I call it God consciousness.
Yeah.
And because we're expressions of it, we have an inherent, what I call an inherent God nature.
Yeah.
And that shifting your inner consciousness in a very felt way, because your feelings are pretty significant in all this, is how you get this outer world to shift also. You can go at it from a physical perspective, which is harder.
Yeah, more work.
You do. You have to put in a lot more hours trying to manipulate things out there. Or you can go in here and really shift your consciousness, your belief, your feeling about, like if it's your success or your relationships or money, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then better conditions that align with that different shift in consciousness will show up. Because if you, like for money, for me, it's been a very up and down.
And remember to subscribe. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Some technical difficulties, as they say. So there were so many things. I honestly wish we had about 3 hours to talk.
Can I share the table of contents? I think it would just give people a sense of...
Yeah.
So chapter 1 is God, why isn't it working, right? So that was kind of like what we talked about. Part 1 of the book is about your inherent divine nature, your inherent God nature. So the next one is you are an expression of God, and just kind of like we literally are an expression of this consciousness. There's just degrees of vibrational frequency from physical to non, but there's really, there's no separateness ever.
You're like the finger of God.
Yeah.
Like always attached to the rest of the body.
Yeah. The next one is the vibrational nature of consciousness, because I did want to talk about that.
Yeah.
The next one is about what our emotions really mean, from that vibrational nature, and how our emotions are really always just about, am I aligned or not aligned? And to what degree, right? If I'm just slightly annoyed, I'm not that far off. But if I'm all over here to hate and rage and, depression or whatever, then I'm really off. And then part 2 is all about, well, how do I deliberately participate, right? So part 1 was kind of like our relationship to Source. And then part 2 gets into how do I manifest deliberately. and I give some general ways and then move into some specific ways. And then kind of wrap up the book with kind of like my top 3 why it doesn't work.
Perfect.
You know, sometimes it's just not consistent enough. We stay too focused on the absence of what we want, thinking we're really paying attention to wanting it, but we're not really feeling the difference of it. I healed a growth on my head. I had it for years, and you would have easily seen it because it was probably the size of my tip of my finger.
That's pretty big.
And it never felt too serious, so I didn't want to go to a doctor. I was like, no, this should work. God damn it.
Like, right? I got to be the test subject.
Yeah. So I was like, I kept, going into nothing, years, nothing. And it was frustrating because it's like, all right, you're trying to be masterful at this and you're failing. And you're
a teacher.
I know. It's like, well, that won't work. So I keep studying things, and I was rereading Neville Goddard, and I was rereading some of his teachings, and one of his things was about a nuance, and it's about thinking and feeling from the in. And what was hard, because it was physical, it was on my body, it was hard for me to think and feel from it. It no longer existed.
Because you're feeling it, you're seeing it.
Yeah, it was a constant there, so it was really hard to get to the vibrational place of consciousness if it doesn't exist. So I started imagining this conversation with my hair guy, the guy who cuts my hair, because he sees it, right? My hair's thin, it's like he sees it.
Yeah.
And he, in the conversation I envisioned, he starts to ask me, hey, what happened to the growth? It's gone. Like, what doctor did you go to? What did they do? And I get to excitedly say, no, God and I finally figured it out, and I got the nuance, and I healed it, and it's gone. And I really got into the feeling of that space where it didn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I kept practicing that a few times a day. And within a week, I was like, is it really shifting or not? Or am I just making this crap up?
Because you could feel it? Or
well, it seemed like it was shifting. Like, it seemed like it was getting smaller. But, but I'm like,
it's hard to tell.
Am I just fooling myself, right?
Yeah.
But I kept at it. I kept just playing that conversation, right? And really, within 2 or 3 weeks, it completely flaked off and went away. Now, for years, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Would not.
Yeah.
But I wasn't getting to the place of it gone. And so wanting it gone was vibrationally very different than it's gone. And envisioning that conversation with him allowed me to go to the feeling place of it's gone. It doesn't exist. And thinking and feeling from there.
Yeah, it's that story that makes it, like, whenever you want to hear a story about something, if you can create a movie, that's so much more immersive than a book. Or, you have that full space that you're creating. So the way that I'm seeing this is that it's so much better, so much more believable, it's so much easier to be in that space if you create that space, which is like a story with some guy that you are cutting your hair.
Yeah, it was a very specific conversation.
Exactly.
And the nuance, though, was I had to do it consistent enough to consistently feel Michael without a growth.
Yeah.
And
it
what
was the
and what he talks about. Because sometimes we get it, sometimes even with visualization, we stay with the mental piece of it and we're not getting into the feeling of it enough. And the feeling part is key because your emotions.
That's the signal. It's telling you that you're there.
Yeah,
right?
Joe Dispenza talks about your thoughts are electric and your feelings are magnetic, right? And so together they make an electromagnetic. And in the quantum field, right? So when I can shift me electromagnetically, meaning my thought and my feeling, now I'm embodying a new space or a space that already exists in the quantum field, and those things that align with it can come kind of.
Yeah, like magnetized to each other. You got a tuner and something that's pushing out a frequency.
Yeah.
And those two things, if you put them on the same vibration,
right,
they're going to connect.
But if all I do is think differently, but I'm really not engaging the feeling part, it's not quite enough.
Yeah.
And just with this, I kept wanting it healed, which is not the same place as it's healed.
Yeah.
And that just slight difference kept me not healing it for years. And then within 3 weeks it went away. Right.
That's really incredible.
Yeah, it was.
I love your book so much, man, and we're in the process of wrapping this up.
Yeah.
But I just want to express to you how grateful I am that you're doing this, because I think that so often it's so hard for us to see how much we impact everybody with what we do. And I just know in the last 24 hours after meeting you that you've impacted me greatly. And that lady that read your book. So you're doing something very sacred and very important. So thank you for that.
No, thanks for that. Because even in my own journey, my own belief that it's valuable to me. It's just hard to know, like, is it valuable to anybody else?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So it's been a stretch for me to believe in that.
Yeah.
And that I can talk about this thing I love and actually grow a business around it, which is what I'm doing, because I do life coaching and I do energy work. And my website is createwithconsciousness.com, right? Because I wanted that kind of in there,
which I think is a really good name.
Yeah, so that's been kind of fun. So so I appreciate that, because it's been my own journey to really believe in that. And it's on Amazon. The reviews have been great, which has been kind of fun. And then emails like hers, you just your words just kind of like, okay, I get it, it's valuable.
It's real.
It's useful.
Yeah.
So
I know exactly how you feel. I'm going through the same process. I'm doing this and I'm like, are people gonna watch? Like, it's gonna go.
Well, the beauty is, though, there are going to be people who resonate with you, right? There's billions out there, and we don't all resonate with the same people. So there are people who they're like, I like this guy. I like how he says it. I like his experiences. I like how he puts it. I like his energy, and they're going to resonate with you, and they won't resonate with somebody else, right? So that's the cool thing.
Yeah.
So.
Man, I really wish we had another 2 hours. There's so many stories that I would love to bring up that have been really cool things that have happened in my life. That are just fun to hear. They kind of nurture the believer in magic in us. But I would absolutely love. I don't know how often you come here, but I would love to.
I'm actually the project I'm working on that brought me here is going to be. I'm going to be coming back about once a month or so.
Oh, perfect.
So
maybe we could do
a part 2.
Yeah, a little video series for you guys to join along and be the creators of our universes together.
So, yeah.
All right, Michael.
Thanks. No.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, you too, man.
Okay.
Cool.
Bye, you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.